How is everyone doing today? Hope everyone finds themselves well. Today we have an awesome video which includes the first meeting, the first fight between Daredevil and Bullseye. This video was actually recommended by subscriber Ryan Smith, and the more I thought about it, the more it made sense to do it since the latest Daredevil season is wrapping up. So this is Daredevil 131, which was published in March of 1976. The writer is Marv Wolfman, and the cover and pencils are done by Rick Buckler. Now, the cover immediately shows Bullseye apparently having the drop on Daredevil, who is standing over one of Bullseye's victims. One of the things I miss from most covers back in the day is that they typically had captions, whereas nowadays they hardly ever do. We see Bullseye saying, "Yeah, Hornhead, I killed that creep, just like I'm going to kill you." You see, Bullseye never misses. As Daredevil realizes Bullseye has a drop on him, the cover also gives us some secondary information on the left side of the page where we're informed Matt Murdock has apparently got a startlingly new job. I guess he's not a lawyer in this story, but we'll find out together in a moment. This is something I enjoyed from past covers, that they had other bits of information pertaining to other side stories going on in the book, information you don't see plastered on the cover anymore. So the first page gives us the name of the story. Watch out for Bullseye, he never misses. As we see Daredevil swooping in mid-burglary. The crooks are surprised as one of them shouts, "Daredevil, but you're supposed to be dead. I shot you myself." Daredevil addresses them as the Rocketeers and says that they won a Hornhead bonus, a 10-year stay up the river at the Attica Hilton. Suddenly, we see Daredevil swooping down with a thunderous right kick to the face of one of the Rocketeers. Daredevil is apparently familiar with him and addresses him as Westcott and says, "I've been waiting for you to make a wrong move, Westcott, waiting to jump down the throats of your slimy little gang, and now's my chance. The Rocketeers have blown it." The Rocketeers are then seen trying to shoot Daredevil as they begin to realize he's too fast, as Daredevil kicks another one to the ground. The third Rocketeer decides to turn tail and run and attempts to make a fast getaway as we see Daredevil follow close behind. Daredevil then swings into the passenger side of the vehicle and knocks the Rocketeer clean out the other end, steering wheel and door included. Having stopped the Rocketeer gang from burglarizing the jewelry store, Daredevil tells the arresting officer, "Take them away, I'm done with them." The officer says, "I can sure see that, Daredevil. By the way, District Attorney Tower has to speak to you." We then see Daredevil meet with the district attorney, who states, "The way you handled the Rocketeer gang impressed this fledgling DA. You're a great asset to the city, and I, for one, wish to tell you that in person, and to thank you," as Daredevil then thanks him back. We then see Daredevil having changed back to his alter ego of Matt Murdock to resume his lawyer duties alongside his friend Foggy Nelson, who is speaking to someone on the phone about having apparently lost his election. Matt is seen speaking to a prospective new client as Heather's secretary offers him coffee and donuts. Matt continues to speak with the client, Miss Gerhardt, who informs Matt of the horrendous living conditions in her apartment complex. Matt then decides to go visit with some of the other tenants from her building. The last panel shows what appears to be a man furiously complaining that Nelson lost the election. "Haven't I done what you wanted? You promised to release me once I did as you commanded, and I did, by creating those commercials." The man continues to plead, "There's nothing more I can do for you. You now know how to operate the machine. What else do you want from me before you free me?" As we then see a fist slam across the man's face while stating, "I'll release you after I finish my plans, not a moment sooner. Back to the editor. I wish to prepare another broadcast." As the unknown assailant tells him to stop whimpering and do as he's told. We then see what appears to be a paper airplane gliding the sky a couple stories up when suddenly it somehow crashes through a window. The confused person inside the building states, "It can't be, but it is, a paper airplane. But how could it break through my window?" Then he opens the paper, which reads, "Pay me $100,000 or I will kill you. Signed, Bullseye." The man, thinking this is some kind of joke, says that he is going to find the culprit and fire him. We then see somebody interrupt him as the man appears confused. The man states, "Who in blazes are you?" The intruder initially states that his name is probably meaningless, but he may recognize his stage name. It's Bullseye, the same one who just sent that note. "Do you have the money I asked for?" The man answers that he does not, to which Bullseye replies that he really wanted that payment and he has no other alternative but to carry out his threat. Bullseye then muses that even though they've just met and that he seems like a rude fellow, he's quite sure that he's likely good to children and dogs and that his death is strictly business and therefore necessary. And right now, I just can't afford to take any losses, the recession and such. As we see Bullseye throw a dart directly to the man's throat. Meanwhile, Matt appears to have been meeting with some of the tenants of the rundown building and is going over specifics when suddenly he hears a broadcast on the radio of a bizarre murder on 86th Street. Shortly thereafter, Matt appears to have put on his Daredevil costume as he thinks, "My ears perked up at the sound of bizarre murder, and since all Matt could do was listen to more complaints, it seemed a perfect time to leave and to call Foggy to check out Glen Industries while old Hornhead goes city swinging." Daredevil then arrives at the office where the previous murder occurred, only to find policemen on the scene. He uses his acute radar senses to tell him, "Two inside. One's young, excited. He's pointing at the body. The other one's older, has a gruff voice. Not at all excited. It's as if he's been through this 100 times." In the next panel, we're shown the end result of Bullseye's assassination. We see the deceased propped up against the wall with a Bullseye symbol spray painted around him with a message stating, "This is an example to all who refuse to pay Bullseye." A detective on the scene criticizes whoever was responsible. The two officers continue to question the motive as Daredevil swings in and interrupts. The detective then hilariously states, "Daredevil, great, just what I need now, a circus clown." Daredevil goes on to inform the detective that he may have overlooked a few clues. The detective goes on to remind Daredevil how long he's been on the force investigating murders without the help of clowns, but that he will humor him. Daredevil is quick to figure out that the hole in the window was made by the note, which seems like just a piece of paper, but he's able to retrace the fold marks and assemble it back to a paper plane. The cop says that he already knew that, to which Daredevil also informs him not to bother checking for fingerprints due to the murder wearing gloves. His heightened senses basically let Daredevil know that there was an absence of heat residue on the pin, and therefore he deduced having worn gloves. The detective then tells Daredevil to scram as he's suddenly stopped by a reporter from the Bugle named Jake Conover, who asks to speak privately to Daredevil. Daredevil says that he doesn't do interviews, to which Conover informs him he just wishes to speak to him in his office and to cover the costume because Mr. Jameson isn't exactly fond of costume crime fighters, as we all know his beef with Spider-Man. We're then taken to the Daily Bugle where Daredevil has met with Conover in costume and all the workers around apparently not caring. Apparently, costume heroes are all too common in New York and Marvel Comics. The reporter goes on to tell Daredevil that he's heard of Bullseye and doesn't know who he really is, but knows his background and his origin. The reporter tells us that Bullseye served during Vietnam. He was gung ho. He didn't only want to kill the Kong, he wanted to destroy them. He was a great soldier, a boy was. He proceeds to tell a story of how a Vietnamese soldier had snuck up behind Bullseye, who then fired his rifle, not realizing it was empty. Now, our boy could have died right there, but you see, he always had this unique knack for throwing things, always had a perfect aim. Fact is, he was signed up with the major leagues when the war broke out and he enlisted. After the war, our boy became a mercenary in Africa, perfecting his use of weapons. The reporter says he's seen Bullseye's abilities in action a few times. Daredevil then assumes that the reporter's informant was actually Bullseye himself, to which the reporter acknowledges the fact. He states that Bullseye craves publicity. Daredevil then thanks him as he exits the window and swings away. Suddenly, Daredevil's heightened senses let him know that there is something whooshing by him as he realizes it's a hand grenade. The grenade has a 4.5 second fuse, and at the rate the acid's burning, I only have about a second to, as we see Daredevil mid-swing caught by the blast of the grenade. Seemingly stunned and free-falling, Daredevil realizes that he needs to act quickly. He uses his billy club to anchor to a nearby building and swing to safety. As he swings to the ground, he's met by Bullseye in an alley. "Ah, my scarlet friend, you've well earned your reputation, I see. Very good. It will only add to the sport when we engage in our final and most inevitable duel." Daredevil first to attack Bullseye and lets him know that the fight begins now. Bullseye reacts with kicking a garbage can full of, well, garbage at Daredevil, to which Daredevil is unable to dodge in time. On the ground and stunned, Daredevil listens to Bullseye say, "I have no wish to finish you off here. It would hardly serve my purpose. While you pick yourself up from the litter, I will make my escape. Slowly enough for you to follow me. We shall see each other shortly." Daredevil thinks to himself that Bullseye wants him to follow him, but he has no other choice but to comply. Meanwhile, we're taken back to the law office where Heather and Foggy question Matt's unusual lack of punctuality due to missing an appointment with Miss Gilhart. Foggy then mentions Glen Industries to Heather as she informs him that it's actually owned by her father. Foggy seems stunned as he tells Heather that her father owns a slum tenement, and she states that it doesn't sound it's something her father would do, as she questions whether her father's been lying to her all these years. We continue to see them discuss and question her father's activities, as a radio news broadcast also lets us know of other unusual activity that's apparently been going on around the world. We then see Daredevil having caught up to Bullseye as he lets him know, "All right, Bullseye, you've led me here. Though I'm not sure why you picked this place. There are police all around us, TV cameras focused on us." As Bullseye cuts him off and says, "Precisely the reason why I've come to this delightful arena, my friend. I wish for an audience to see our fight, an audience to witness my victory. I have men stationed throughout the crowd, ready to unleash a barrage of machine gun fire at the people should any law officer attempt to stop us. No, my friend, this fight will go unchecked." Daredevil then tells Bullseye that if he wanted to fight, he's got one, and lunges at him as Bullseye immediately throws a rope at Daredevil while stating, "I planned for this moment, worked towards its coming, and now the exhilaration I knew I would feel is here. You see, my friend, my plans are based on my infallible aim and my unique ability to turn anything into a most deadly weapon." Daredevil's heightened senses seem impeded as he states, "Too many heartbeats here, can't focus on his movement, and I can't move fast enough." Bullseye then gloats, "Observe how rope thrown ever so perfectly can kill. And now, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, turn on the spotlight and let the battle begin." There's a gasp, the confused shouts of thousands assail Daredevil's super sensitive ears. For when the lights blink on, the crowd has suddenly discovered that instead of watching a Madison Square Garden three-ring show, they have come to be the startled witnesses of the circus of death. Well, that is a cliffhanger if I ever saw one. So far, Bullseye has gotten the better of Daredevil, but the fight is far from over. In fact, it appears to have just started. Next video will continue with the conclusion of their first meeting as Daredevil versus Bullseye Round 2. Let me know in the comments what you think of their first meeting so far. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed today's story. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you in the next one.